I scaled from 0 to 10K a month in only 4 months, and then from 10K a month to 50K a month in another 5 months. I was 19 years old at that time. I'm 20 now. I had no real experience in business. I tried some business models before, NFTs, Minecraft servers, all of that bullshit, but haven't really ever made more than like $1,000 in a month online before starting this agency. I don't come from a rich family. I don't have any big models in my life that would show me the way, that would guide me on how to achieve success in business. But even with those facts, it could have been done so much quicker than how I've done it. If I had the right knowledge, I would have been able to scale to, 10K a month within the first month, to 50K a month, probably within 3 to 4 months, if I had the right knowledge. But instead, I was stumbling my way to success. I've succeeded quite a bit, but I've also failed a lot on the way there. And the model I used to achieve those numbers is an SMMA, a social media marketing agency, which is a business model that's an online business model. You don't have any physical offices. You don't have to go to meet anyone physically. Basically, it's super simple. Businesses will always need more clients. So any type of business, you have online businesses like e-commerce stores that sell some physical products online. You have local businesses like a car wash or like a carpenter. They always need more clients to grow and to make more revenue, right? And how do they get more clients? Well, through marketing, through reaching more people with their message, showing, hey, we have this kind of service, or hey, we have this kind of product. Come and buy it from us. And that's where you step in and help those businesses with specifically marketing online through social media and Google. So paid ads through social media and through Google ads through paid search. They come to you or you come to them. I'll get into the different acquisition models in a second. You say, hey, you guys want to get more clients? We have some proven techniques. We've already done this before. Let me run your paid ads. Their money is spent on the paid ads. You don't use your own money on those paid ads. You just manage it. You create the ads, you scale it, you do everything required to maintain those ads. You get them clients, and then you get paid a percentage of what you generate your clients. At least that's how you start. Now we're only charging retainers, but that's because we are at above $100,000 a month. So we have a fixed price for our clients. Again, I'll get into it in a second, why that is the case and why you shouldn't be copying me, why you should be using performance-based invoicing instead. But the point is, you get them clients, you get amazing at this one single skill, which is running paid ads, which is creating, like the graphics for Instagram ads, which is creating, the copy for the Google ads. You get amazing at those skills. You don't go into SEO or conversion rate optimization or email marketing. You hyper focus on this one service. You become amazing at it. You deliver amazing results. And since you get paid on the performance that you generate, you also get paid quite a bit of money. At this point, our average client is paying us about $6,000 a month for a single month of work. We usually have maybe 1 to 2 people working on an account, and those people are usually managing about 10 other accounts. So you can do the math, how little time it actually takes to manage those clients and how much they pay us. And that's kind of the reason we're able to have, 70% margin, 65 to 70% margins, doing about $1.5 million in revenue a year, which is completely unheard of in the business world, especially in the agency world. Usually agencies have anywhere between 30 to 40% margins, but that's because they bloat their team. They don't build it in the correct way, which again, I'm getting to in a second. So now you understand the model, but I didn't actually start here. This isn't my first agency. My first agency is called Designr, without the last E, super fancy, I know. And that's kind of where I started, watching Iman Gadzhi videos back in 2022. I saw all these people starting SMMA, starting agencies, and I was like, I want to be fancy. I don't want to do this whole paid ad stuff because everyone is doing it. It's probably like a bloated market. It's flooded. There's no room for me. So I started a graphic design service instead. I've been doing graphic design for like 5 years now, 5, 6 years. So the model was that businesses could pay me a fixed amount per month, which was $1,000 a month, and then they could order an unlimited amount of graphic design, which sounds like a cool model on the surface, but then you realize that businesses don't actually need graphic design. It's like, it's a good to have, but it's not a need that they have. So it's very hard to sell it, especially during that period. There were some kind of recessions, businesses weren't doing too well, they were pinching money. So that quickly faded out. I got one client paying me like $1,000 a month. So that's kind of where I capped out. Then I met my co-founder on LinkedIn, actually. We became kind of accountability partners with our own agencies for about half a year, maybe 9 months. And then we decided to merge our agencies. We took a step back and thought, okay, let's not try to be fancy. Let's just do what works. All of these kids are making tons of money with their SMMAs. They are succeeding. So let's just do this exact same thing, give paid ad services to businesses. We decided to work with e-commerce brands. So businesses that sell something online. You can also work with local lead gen clients. So those are kind of the two main categories when you are starting an SMMA. You have e-commerce, which is what we work with. So different websites. If you think about Amazon, for example, that's the biggest e-commerce platform in the world. We work with brands that have their own website, so usually built on Shopify. But as I said, you can also work with local businesses, so carpenters or car washes or nail salons, like anything that kind of sells a service physically where you have to come in. That's a lead gen service, so lead generation. You have to get those businesses leads. You don't get them direct purchases like you do with e-commerce, but you get them potential interested clients that they then have to sell on their service. Sorry about that. So SMMA, how is this agency model built? I'll go through each of the different, parts of an agency, how I thought it was supposed to be run when I started the agency, how I was taught by these big gurus. I've gone through all of the courses. I've gone through Iman's course. I've gone through Charlie Morgan's course, all of these guys. And then I'll tell you my experience with how you're supposed to actually build an agency to get past 10K a month. Because the thing is, these gurus, their job is to get you to 10K a month because that's their offer. They help beginners get to 10K a month. They give you the systems to do it as quickly as possible. They work to get you to 10K a month. And I respect it. That's how they get paid. But the way you build an agency to 10K a month isn't the way you're going to build it to get to 50 or 100 or 500K a month. And my goals were always much bigger than 10K a month. You might think that 10K a month is a big number, and it maybe is, but once you get to it, you realize that, okay, you have expenses. You only take home, like 6, 7K a month. And then you're like, one flight ticket in business to Dubai, for example, is already your entire monthly paycheck gone. So it's a big number on paper, but it doesn't actually get you much in today's economy. Also, as I said, my goal has always been to grow much farther than those 10K a month. And I've figured out how to do it because I've done it. So basically, an SMMA has 3 main parts. You have the acquisition, so getting new clients. You have the service delivery, delivering for those clients. And you have the internal operations, actually making everything work on the back end. In the beginning is just you, so you have to kind of keep yourself accountable, make sure that you do all the tasks. But with time, when you have a team, you have to make sure that the team works effectively, that everyone does their part, that those parts work cohesively together, that when someone produces a graphic, it's launched effectively on Meta. So like tons of moving parts. It's the least important, at least in the beginning, the internal operations. The most important when you're just starting out is the acquisition, of course, getting clients, getting money in the bank, and then the service delivery, and lastly, the internal operations. And let me take that a step further, actually. The service delivery matters so little when you actually start your agency that you should focus basically no time on that aspect. So when I started my own agency, the one that I'm running right now, I knew nothing about paid ads. I knew nothing about setting up campaigns in Meta. I knew nothing about creating the actual graphics you use in the ads, but we still signed clients, and then I learned how to actually deliver for those clients. So we were selling people on something before we actually knew how to deliver it, which may sound a bit backwards, but that's how you should build a business. You jump straight into it. You don't spend months and months and months procrastinating, learning about the service, how to deliver it before you actually get clients, because Number one, as I said, you're just procrastinating. It will make your journey much longer. And second of all, the best teacher is actually just by doing. So by getting clients, delivering for those clients, you learn so much quicker than you would, watching YouTube videos or reading books. Just jump straight into it and begin delivering results. And the way we got our first couple of clients was actually by giving away the service for free. So we reached out to, I don't know, like 40, 50 businesses maybe. We said, hey guys, we're launching a new agency. We're very excited. And to show you guys that we know what we're doing, which we didn't, but that's what we said at least. And to get, our first client base, we want to give you guys a month of free service. Those were pretty like shitty e-commerce brands that didn't really know what they were doing themselves, especially to trust a couple of 16 or 17-year-olds with their marketing. But that's how we got our first 5-6 clients. I think 90% of those clients ended up canceling after the first month because the service was so shit. But we kept at least 1 or 2 clients, which then paid us $600 a month. So that was kind of our first taste of money from this agency. The point is, just by signing those 5-6 clients and delivering for them, we learned so much about paid ads. So that the second batch of clients we signed, for them, like 50% maybe churned, 50 stayed. Then the next batch, 80% stayed, then 90. Now we have like a 98% success rate, I would say, in the agency. We're so picky with who we work with, and we have built out an amazing team around the service delivery that basically nobody actually fails when signing up for our service. We always deliver amazing results. Some are happier than others. Of course, it's human psychology. Some expect more, some expect less, but it's very, very rare that we lose our clients' money at this point, just because of how much time we've spent perfecting the service and how picky we are in working with the clients. But again, ignore this for now because I'm already doing over $100,000 a month. It's not relevant for you. For you, it's most important to just get clients, get money in the bank, even if they are shitty clients, even if they are difficult to work with. It's so much more valuable to get that experience actually delivering the service and get that experience selling your service, onboarding them, doing everything required to run an agency, more than it is important to only sign the best clients or only work with clients you enjoy working with. Ignore that for now. The goal right now is to get as many clients as possible. So the way most gurus teach you to get clients is through cold outreach. So sending cold emails, sending cold DMs, cold calling people. And I really, really abhor this model, you can say. I really disagree with doing cold outreach because there are so many things wrong with it. First of all, it's not scalable. So you spend a ton of time setting up this system. You get it to, it can easily get you to, 10K, 20K a month, but then it caps out because there are only so many emails you can send. When you add more email accounts, when you go from sending, like 50,000 to 100,000 to 200,000 emails a month, the system just becomes more and more complex. You have more breakage points. It's more likely that something will stop working and your entire acquisition system will go down. So that's kind of the first reason I don't like cold outreach. Second of all, it gets you shitty clients, which I just said you should ignore. But if you have the choice between getting a good client and a shitty client, of course you should select the good client. And when you do cold outreach, you specifically select working with the shitty clients. And the reason why is that those clients are cold. You are approaching them. You are selling them your service. They feel like they are doing you a service by working with you, not the other way around, because you reached out to work with them. The dynamic is completely off. They're usually they expect much more from you. So when you don't deliver on the exact level they were expecting, they're much more likely to just drop your service and not work with you, especially if you have a free month in the beginning. They just don't have any buy-in in the actual partnership. They just usually become much worse clients. So that's kind of the second and the main reason I don't like cold outreach. And third is just time consuming. You spend, like 4, 5, 6 hours a day on this, cold email, cold calling bullshit, just getting clients, and you don't have any time left to actually deliver for the clients you've already signed or, develop the agency in other ways that isn't the acquisition. So that's why I don't like cold outreach. And what I've done instead is I have built a personal brand. So people come to me. I have an authority acquisition machine that I call it, that I built on LinkedIn. And in the beginning, I did warm outreach. So to get to 50K a month, I did what I call warm outreach, which is sending personalized Loom videos. But let me start with the LinkedIn stuff. So I've built a personal brand on LinkedIn, posting every single day for about 9 months, maybe, before I began seeing any kind of results. It may sound like a boomer platform, but it's such a blue ocean because nobody uses it. And especially agency owners, everybody has the same mindset you have about LinkedIn. Oh, it's such a shitty platform, nobody uses it. And then it just sits there with like tons and tons and tons of potential clients that you could be reeling in that you don't because you don't like the platform. But put that away, sign up for LinkedIn, begin kind of seeing what people are posting, get a feel for the platform. It's very difficult for me to explain exactly how you should write on LinkedIn, what topics you should talk about. You need to get a feel for it. So just sign up for it, begin using it actively as a user, understand how it works and what people post, and just begin making your own posts. So you should have this kind of structure where on Mondays you post value, on Tuesdays you post a personal story about yourself, about some kind of hardship you've gone through to kind of resonate with the audience, reach a broader audience than you would with the value. Then Wednesday, Thursday, again, just posting value. So if your main service is meta ads, you post about meta ads, about some new kind of update to the algorithm, or how you should be testing ads or scaling ads. The most important thing to remember here is that you are talking to CMOs and CEOs. You're not talking to media buyers. So you want to keep it slightly higher level than you would initially think. You don't want to go into like specific scaling strategies, what kind of buttons you should be clicking in the ad account. That's not relevant for CEOs or CMOs. They just want to, have more money come in through their marketing. So talk about higher level concepts, how to use Meta to grow your business, but not necessarily how you do every specific little action in the ads manager. And then on Friday, and this is key, you post a giveaway. So you create a document or some kind of resource. For us, the most valuable resources we've given away that have gotten the most response are just giant collections of everything we know. So like we usually do audits for clients during the sales process, which I'll get to in a second as well. And what we did is that we collected all of those audits. We made like a giant folder with tons and tons of audits. And we just gave that away as a lead magnet. So you say, hey, I just put together this kind of resource. If you want access to it, comment the word audit, for example. People commented and you send it to their DMs. With time, you get like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people commenting on that post. And usually when people want an audit, usually when people want access to a folder of different audits made for other eCom brands, they are themselves running an eCom brand. So you get so many qualified leads. And of course, the audit package or whatever you give away has to be valuable. So that when they get access to it, they read it, they're like, damn, these guys actually know what they're talking about. These guys are knowledgeable. And that way you build goodwill, you make them interested. And with time, they will either reach out or you can reach out to them and get them in on a call, get them sold, go through the sales process that I'm about to explain, and get yourself a new client. So that's kind of the strategy behind the LinkedIn personal brand. But again, it takes quite a few months to build that momentum and actually get people reaching out and begin signing clients from LinkedIn. It's not like you begin posting this Monday and then next week you'll already begin signing clients. It will take some time, but we need clients ASAP. We can't really be waiting a couple months for this strategy to kick in. So the direct response acquisition method that I was using is what I call warm outreach, where you send personalized Loom videos to cold prospects. And the reason I call it warm outreach, even though it's like technically cold outreach, is because it's so personalized. You only reach out to a select few businesses. You don't spam, hundreds of thousands of emails a month. You lead with value. You give them a ton of value. You don't ask for anything in return. And paradoxically, that approach, giving value, not asking for anything, actually gets more people interested in what you have to sell them. So the way it works is that I was sending 30 a day. You find 30 of your ideal customer profile. So let's say you work with eCom like us, you find 30 eCom brands you would want to work with. You record them a quick 3-minute Loom video to each one, where the first 15 seconds is just you introducing yourselves, like, hey, I'm Alex, just recording a quick video because I saw some potential in your ad accounts. Then you open up their ad accounts. You can use Facebook's ad library, Google's ad library to see all of their ads, even while having access to the ad account. You go through it, you give some feedback on what you should improve, what kind of things you see that are wrong, what's they're already doing well. Usually it's something related to the creative, the creative volume, their creative diversity, how they actually run the ads, the ad copy they use, the different settings they use for the different placements, stuff like that. You go through it about 2.5 minutes. You give the highest leverage points there. You want to give as much value as possible. Don't hold anything back. And at the end, the last 15 seconds, you give a very, very soft CTA. So you say, hey, I have tons more ideas for how to improve your ad account. If you want, we can jump on a quick call and I'll explain. If not, completely fine as well. Have an amazing day. That's it. You don't like push them. Okay, click the link below, book in a time in my calendar right now. Just a super soft CTA. Hey, if you want to book a call, let's book a call. If not, I don't really care. Have an amazing day. And that's it. Leave it at that, because people are so tired of being pitched. I can promise you that every single business owner you will be reaching out to is already getting 10, 15 emails a day, 2, 3 cold calls a day of people trying to sell their services. Every one of those people is pushing for a call. They're like, okay, how does Tuesday at 2 p.m. work? Even without the person saying, yeah, I want to do a call. They're just like so pushy. So when you come through and you just give them value, you don't really expect anything in return. It's such a breath of fresh air for them that they're much more likely to actually book with you, because you are the one genuine person out of the 300 people that reach out to them every single month. So that's how I like to do acquisition. That's how I like to do clients. And if we think back to the points I mentioned earlier about why cold outreach is a shitty model with you getting shitty clients from it, this is the exact opposite. If someone actually ends up booking, it's because they are interested in your service. They liked you. They liked what you had to share. The dynamic is completely different. They are kind of booking in with you, not the other way around. Even though you reached out first, they have to take some initiative to book in the call. And it feels like you are doing them a service by working with them and not the other way around. So they end up staying for much longer. They're usually much happier. They're usually much more lenient. So even if you end up fucking something up, which you'll most likely do at some point in the ad accounts, they will be much more lenient and give you a second chance to actually fix it and deliver the results. So just overall a much better model. And then once the personal brand kicks in and begins generating you inbound calls, so you don't actually have to do anything with the personal brand other than post. So you post, you have a Calendly booking link in your profile, and when people are warm enough, they'll just begin booking. So one day you wake up and you suddenly have like 3 calls booked in, 4 calls booked in that day just from your personal brand. They're all super warm. They reached out to you. You've had no contact with them previously. They are taking the initiative. It's just such an amazing way to get clients. It makes sales so easy. You get like a 35-40% close rate. And I personally still suck at sales. Like, I'm not any good at sales. I don't know how to handle objections. I don't know how to, use these different sales tactics to get the person to talk about their problems, all that stuff. I just jump on the call. I ask like, hey, what do you need help with? I try to understand their business, because we reject more people than we accept at this point. It's very important for us to only work with the best of the best clients. I just try to understand if they're a good fit for us and not if we are a good fit for them. And if they are, I say, okay, let's sign a contract. Here's the price. And there's usually no objections, because again, they booked in with us. They already know what the service is. They want to work with us. They just want to hear the price and sign the contract. So such an amazing way to sign clients, warm outreach and personal brand. Really recommended over any kind of cold outreach. But that's only the first part of the agency. So we've talked about the acquisition. Now we have the service delivery. You've signed the clients. How do you actually deliver for those clients? Again, looking back at how those gurus in 2022 taught you to deliver the result, it's always get a media buyer immediately, go on Fiverr, go on Upwork, find someone to deliver the service for you and get them in the ad accounts ASAP. So that's kind of the first thing you do when you sign a client. You get someone to actually deliver the service for you. But it's such a bad way to build an agency. I can talk about this for hours, but let me try to keep it short. Basically, when you hire someone immediately off the bat to deliver the service, first of all, you don't know what to look for in that person, because you don't know how to deliver this service yourself. So the chance of you hiring some shitty ass media buyer is so much higher. You never actually understand how the service is delivered. So when you get technical questions in the sales process, you don't know how to answer them. You don't know how to manage this person over time because, again, you don't understand how to deliver the service. You can't afford to pay a senior because a senior media buyer is usually, 5, 6K a month. As a salary. You can't afford that in the beginning. So you usually end up getting some kind of junior that's only been doing it for a couple of months that doesn't actually really understand what they're doing themselves. So you deliver shitty results. Clients end up churning. You lose all the progress you had. So you spent, you sent 300 looms. You took, 10 sales calls. You closed the client, and then they end up churning, and all of that was for nothing just because you have a shitty service delivery because of a shitty media buyer. So just don't get me started on it. Don't outsource the service delivery until you can actually afford to hire an expert. For us, that was about 50K a month. So I was personally delivering the service until the agency was doing about $50,000 a month. And I was obsessed with it. So if I would share with you how much research and learning and just obsession I've done over Google Ads and Meta Ads, you would probably not believe me. I've read every single Google Ads book out there. I've taken every single course. I've done, I don't know how many thousands of hours of practice in the actual ad accounts. You don't have to go as crazy as I have done. I just found it really interesting and found it really fun to get good at it. The point is, you should be the one delivering the service in your agency. When you sign a new client, you should be the one doing the onboarding. You should be the one doing the market research for the client, delivering the first batch of, statics, the onboarding statics, doing all the weekly optimization, understanding how Meta works, understanding how the algorithm works, doing all these things because first of all, the service is going to be much better when you are actually involved, when you try to, develop yourself. With every week, your results will become better and better. And then, as I said, once you can actually afford to hire a senior, you actually know what to look for in that person because you understand how this service is delivered. So that's the way to deliver the service. And of course, you have all the basics, like focus on one service, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the video. Don't do, CRO and email marketing and paid ads on social media and anything else you can imagine. Specifically focus on one specific service. For us, that's paid ads. I love paid ads. It's direct response to, that if I put in $5, we got $50 back. I'll take a cut of the difference of the $45. It's very trackable. You know exactly what kind of revenues you're generating for the client. It's never going to go out of business. Like businesses will always need marketing online that they put in dollars into. So basically, just select a single service, become amazing at that service, and don't outsource before you can afford an expert. So we've covered the acquisition, how you should get clients. We have covered how you should do the service delivery. And by the way, on the whole service delivery aspect, I have made an entire hour-long video explaining exactly how to do the service delivery in your agency. So I'll link that in the description. So go check that out after this video. And by the way, if you want help with scaling your agency, as you can see, I am pretty knowledgeable on how to scale an agency. Not to toot my own horn, I have launched a mentorship where I work with agency owners one-on-one to actually help them scale their agencies to, that 50K a month mark. My own agency is doing about 125K a month, so I am quite a bit past that point. So I know what it takes. Reach out to me on Instagram if that sounds interesting. Let's discuss it, but let's keep rolling here. So we have already talked about acquisition, we've talked about service delivery, and lastly, we have the internal operations. How do we make sure that we build a scalable agency that manages itself, that is smooth on the back end, doesn't require, an army of VAs to manage? And that's the first point, actually, on the internal operations, having an army of VAs. So if you go back to Iman Gadzhi's videos from 2022, Charlie Morgan's videos, they were always talking about the VAs. Like VAs are, the end all be all of running an agency. You just have to have an army of VAs and they'll do everything for you. But it creates such an unscalable agency. It's pretty crazy. Imagine having, 7, 8 people in your agency that are just VAs doing, just the basic tasks. You have to manage every single person. You have to pay every single person. Sometimes someone gets sick. Sometimes someone wants, some kind of raise. It's just such a pain in the ass to have a big team. So your goal should be to have the leanest team possible. And the key to that is using AI effectively. So basically every single part of your agency on the internal operations side should be supercharged by AI. The task management should be done by AI, not a VA. The task follow-up, the like internal approval, the client approval for creatives, all of that should be done by AI, so that you need as few VAs and just employees as possible. And that's also what allows you to have high margins. So us outsourcing stuff to AI instead of VAs, yes, it takes more time because you need to set those systems up. It's more difficult in the beginning than it is just hire a VA and get them to do the thing. But that's why we can have, 70% margins while everyone else in the agency space has 30 to 40%. People are doing 200K a month, 250K a month, and they're still taking home less than we do just because we've built stuff based on AI and not VA. So the idea is build proper systems from day one. That's the most important thing when it comes to internal operations. Don't really overthink this. The systems will become very important once you begin hiring people, which usually happens at that 50K a month-ish range. But just build proper systems. Don't create those hack job setups where stuff kind of works and you're like, okay, I'll fix it later. No, sit down and create the proper system right now. Make the right SOPs, but don't spend 3 hours a day doing the internal operations. It should be like a 30-minute a day job, something you just do at the end of the day, making sure that stuff runs smoothly, setting up the systems. But again, don't overthink it. Getting clients and delivering for those clients is the most important right now. So what we use in my own agency is Asana for task management. We have tons of different automations. It's pretty crazy how complex it has become at this point, but basically, we have different projects per client. We have the creative development pipeline. We have the UGC development pipeline. Everything is in there. Everything runs smoothly. It runs without me. I've set up like different automations. So when a new person gets assigned, they get the right role, they get the right status. Stuff just works, right? In Asana. It's amazing. Don't use Notion for task management. We did that in the beginning, but it just doesn't have the capabilities that Asana does. You can also use like ClickUp, Monday. All these apps are kind of the same. It doesn't really matter. We use Notion for document management. So all of our SOPs, all of our onboarding trainings, everything related to, like the finances of the agency, everything is in Notion. That's kind of in like a document form that doesn't require task management or stuff moving around. Stuff that is static is in Notion. And then we use Slack for communication. So with the clients, we have a separate channel with each client where we talk with that client. Then we have an internal channel for every single client where we internally discuss every single client. We have like the main channel. We have actually a performance lab channel, which is also an interesting thing. So when you build a team, the most important thing is to have a great culture, because if you have a great culture, people will put in more work. They'll be more happy. They'll be happier with working at your agency. They will stay for longer. It just has so many positive byproducts of having a great team culture internally at your agency. And one of the things that helps with that is having some kind of place where people can share their personal wins. So we have what we call a performance lab channel in Slack, where people send like, okay, now they are working out. Okay, I've just bought a new setup. I bought a new monitor. Okay, right now I'm running. I've completed a marathon. So constantly amping each other up to do like physical stuff. We really encourage our team to do MMA or run or go to the gym, stuff like that. People send it there. They amp each other up and just builds that great team culture. But again, don't overthink the internal operations. When you actually get a team that does the work for you, like I have done myself now, we have a team that does basically everything in the agency. I only have to work a couple hours a day. That's when agency becomes really, really fun. But at the core, it's a very basic model. It's pretty boring. It's not flashy. It's not, like OF management where you're constantly hanging around with half-naked chicks. You just sit at your computer, but it pays so well. It allows you to do everything you ever dreamt of while just working from the computer. You don't have to show up to any like office at a certain time. You don't have to answer to anyone. You're your own boss, and it runs itself if you build it in the right way based on what I have told you today.